Hello, everyone. It is Richard here to do a Panzer Corps video. It's something I've been thinking about for some time. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more Panzer Corps videos, or maybe I'll do like a few here and there. I lost my Panzer Corps files when my computer had to have a factory reset. I didn't actually have anything valuable I lost except for that. um, So if I was to play Ultimate Mode, I'd have to do it all over again. Um, which there are some benefits to, but I'm just not in the mood for it. But I've been very enthusiastically watching Soren and Goose play, and I've been thinking about what was happening when I was playing, and I think that there are some serious improvements. And somebody made a comment that I can share these Google Docs on my videos, and I realized, well, of course I can. I was just being an idiot. So I will below this video, I'll share this document so you can see all of this, and I think you can just copy it onto your own if you want. But what I wanted to talk about in this video was prestige management. This is a section I added to my advanced tactics list and ultimate mode discussion. I can capitalize that. Why did I never capitalize that? Okay, so I have a whole tactics explanation of advanced tactics for ultimate mode. There's actually new stuff I could probably put in here. I've just been lazy and I haven't done it. But for prestige management, I realized that this is a really big deal. Obviously, it's a really big deal, but I realized we were not doing a good job. You know, Bricata wasn't doing a good job. I have gotten better, and I'll talk about that. And Goose obviously wasn't doing a good job. Part of this is he started it first. I think Goose started Ultimate Mode first, and obviously that was a very long time ago, and tactics and strategies have tremendously improved from his first attempt. So he's really, really far behind on Prestige. I think he knows he's got serious problems on the horizon. Um, so even where I left off at Sevastopol Assault. I had problems that shouldn't have been happening, and it comes down to prestige management issues. So, yeah. So if you want to achieve great things, especially for Ultimate Mode 43, Goose is basically shown that you can get a decisive victory in every scenario in 1942. I don't know about Tatsunkaya, probably not that one, but so there's something like 15, is that right? There's 15 total scenarios in 1942, and Goose has shown that 14 of those 15, or he will show 14 of those 15, you can get a decisive victory, which is, I feel like he deserves an award for that. It is completely insane that he did that. Um, but that's not really what this video is about. This video, well, actually, that ties into some of what this video is about, because it kind of tells me that there's major improvements on prestige management people can do. So what did I say here? Okay, so I think that if you're gonna make a serious run on 43 on ultimate mode, you have no room for error. So you have to squeeze as much prestige out of every single scenario as possible. That means you're gonna have to push a lot. You're gonna have to be basically you're gonna have to be as aggressive as Goose, but have Soren's exact tactics with my sneakiness. Soren's tactical exactness. Can I say that? Tactical exactness. And I have a lot of really sneaky things and stuff I understand about maps that actually make many of these scenarios trivial actually to play. And I think you have to do stuff like that because you literally have to squeeze and squeeze as much as you can out of the maps. There's just no room for it, because on my playthrough that ended at Sevastopol Assault, I probably was on pace for 40 to 41,000, maybe 43,000 prestige. But I don't know if that's enough. And there was definitely things I could have done that were a lot better. So I'll get into that. Okay. So I've already talked about tactics. So I want to talk about prestige management. I think everybody's blown it on this. And I would argue every single Panzer Corps player that has been playing, from Robbie Play strategy games to Soren, they have made some serious mistakes on their prestige investment. But it doesn't matter for anybody not on ultimate mode because you have a lot more leeway. You can make mistakes on prestige investment and get away with it. So the first thing is seize hexes whenever possible using every trick in your disposal. This is something that is partly inspired by Goose, and partly just something I have figured out, that there's sneaky little things you can do to grab extra hexes. And even from the first scenario, you really need to grab as many hexes as possible because your opportunities to get easy prestige disappear quickly. So already at Poznan, you should get the airfield by Poznan. And it's actually super simple. You just need to send Rudel or your auxiliary bomber to bomb the tankette by the airfield, and this will drag the AA gun off the airfield. And you're going to have a scout in the area, so you can just grab it. So it's just 12 prestige, but it really matters. Where was I? Yeah, so at Danzig, I know I showed a video on that where I got a decisive victory using tactical bombers, but I think with slightly better tactics, you can get even more hexes. So you should definitely squeeze as much as possible on that map. It's actually not a hard map if you have the appropriate tactics. I think Piatek is a map that I have done a lot with. Soren has done a lot with. I mean, he's shown a map wipe on Rommel. I have actually map wiped Piatek and farmed around on Rommel. That is how broken that map is. But on ultimate mode, you can't do any of that. But I do think that there must be ways to safely sneak around and grab some other hexes without weakening your lines too much. And I think that there's probably 60 prestige or so that's sitting on that map that we didn't get. And the other thing about Piatek is you should allow every major hex to get seized and then take it back. I think it's absolutely crucial that the player does this because it's just extra prestige. What else? And then the first major decision, do you go for a decisive or a marginal victory at Piatek? It is very, very clear to me that you are coming away with a ridiculous amount of prestige over the Kampanowska Forest Path if you just take a marginal victory at Piatek. Not only do you get a much, much easier map than Kampanowska Forest, but you're getting more hexes you can conquer, more prestige per turn, and you're going to get a lot more kills because it's easy to farm kills on that map. So, I've shown Wojsgora decisive victory, and I've actually played that map in multiple ways, and I think that there's a sweet spot where I have actually gotten a decisive victory and seized all of these objectives on the, I guess that would be the east bank of the river. I forgot what the river's called, the Burza. You can do that. It's really risky because in the north, actually, I can't show it because I'm on window capture. But in the north, there's a river and you're defending. It's really tricky because all the major hexes are on a river. But you're going to be stretched really thin if you go capture all of the cities east of the river. However, you can do it and get a decisive. It's just really tricky. I do think there's probably a balance. I've done it. I've gotten like 3 or 4 of those cities, and then I've been able to surge to the north and hold the river. There are some combat losses, but I think with better positioning and better unit management, you can pretty much get everything that you want without losing a single overstrength point or a single point. It's something that, like, I think Soren could improve upon my approach and squeeze even more out of the scenario. The point is, you should push really hard to grab as many hexes on that map as possible because it is prestige heavy. This is part of the reason why I had so much prestige in 42. Like, it was a crazy amount of prestige. I actually was getting more prestige than what Robbie Play strategy games had. If you think about it, he had 35,000 prestige at the end of 42, and I was probably going to be in the 41 to 43,000 range on ultimate mode. That is how far the tactics and strategies have come on this game. And he's not a bad player at all, but he didn't know most of these tactics. He wasn't familiar with. um, okay, what else? Oh, Maudlin you shouldn't push at. I think you should grab as many easy hexes as you possibly can. In fact, it might even be worth ignoring the forts, and I think there's like a fortification hex that's got a really entrenched infantry. You probably should grab that hex with a scout car just to get that 12. I think it's 12 prestige. So there's not a lot. There's not really serious improvements on this map. Basically, you just kill things, you get some easy hexes, and that's it. And you don't want to do more than that. You don't have time. Now the next big decision is Warsaw. And in my opinion, I think we're going to have to jiggle some things on this map because Bricada's approach is actually really, really good and fantastic because he actually goes around the city and grabs all the hexes and gets the artillery piece. But it's not robust to bad weather. So, and it's really a shame because there's a lot more prestige. I don't even know. It might be like 600. It might be like 600 more prestige with his approach. I would have to calculate it up. But there might be. I would have to look at my final map and then look at his final map again. And it's possible we're pushing like 500 to 600 more prestige if you use Bricada's method, which is riskier, but it's not robust to bad weather. Whereas my approach is robust to bad weather, and you can get a decisive victory in 13 turns with accurate play, which is really good because things are starting to heat up around then. I just mentioned Warsaw is a major decision point because you can take the safe route, but it runs the risk that you're leaving hundreds of prestige on the table. But you're also, if you use Bricada's approach, you will take more damage. Now, if Soren were to do this, there might be a sweet spot. He might be able to take his approach and not take much damage. So, but I think there might be a sweet spot there where you can do what Bricada did and get everything you want. But I do think you would have to change the weather so that there's no rain at all. Just add it to cloudy, to higher cloudy probability. Because I think it's way too risky. You never know if you could get rain on Warsaw, and it's really, really bad if you do get rain. What else? Oh, Spoils of War is another thing. I have completely broken this map. I have completely and totally smashed this map. But to be fair, it wasn't really me, it was Soren. You're going to see his name crop up over and over again. Soren had this diabolical distribution of units and positioning. And I actually had to spend like a couple of hours to adjust to my core because his Mancine approach, there's a lot more prestige. There's a lot more he can do with that prestige. And I simply don't have it. And I don't want to waste my prestige. So I had to figure out some clever tricks to get the exact same, or almost the exact same outcome. That way all the tactics would work, and it's devastating. So with Soren's approach, combined with my approach, you can almost map wipe it. And I think if there's no rain, this is another map you could think about just removing the rain probability. I think with no rain, you could map wipe it with perfect tactics. But you don't really care if you map wipe it because all you care about is the hexes, and I have shown that you can absolutely do that. I think I've shown you can do that with a turn or two of rain, which is crazy. So Spoils of War is a major improvement. There's lots of prestige waiting for a player to grab on that map. It's pretty crazy that until Bricada broke it on Manstein, nobody had beaten this map on Manstein before. And now it's almost trivialized on ultimate mode. Almost trivialized. It's still, you still have to memorize hundreds and hundreds of positionings just to get everything to work perfectly. Next is Oslo. Bricada's Oslo is absolutely insane. He had terrific weather, so this is another map. Just remove the rain, because any rain at all screws everything up. So if you follow Bricada's method at Oslo, then you should shoot for grabbing as many hexes as possible. I mean, he almost got every hex. He might have gotten every hex because I think there was like one unit left he didn't kill. He almost map wiped it, and maybe with perfect weather he would have map wiped it. But this is another scenario that I was really surprised how much could be achieved, and there's a lot of prestige sitting there. You should get all of it. Lillehammer is Bricata map wiped it, but it doesn't look repeatable to me, and also it was super expensive. So Lillehammer has few hexes, has terrible, like really high bad weather probability, and I don't think the damage you're taking is worth the prestige gain, in my opinion. So I would just shoot for a marginal victory and grab as many easy hexes as possible. You could probably grab all but 3 hexes with maybe 4 hexes with precise play. You know, maybe with paratroopers you can get like all but 3 hexes. I would like to see Soren try this on ultimate mode and get very aggressive. I'm curious how much he could accomplish. But this is not a scenario where it's important that you get every hex, just because it's really not a reasonable scenario for that. Narvik is a scenario you should push hard on. I think Bricata and I have shown a viable plan for a map wipe. Even though it's not strictly necessary to map wipe, but if you want to grab all those hexes, it's basically the same thing. I would even argue that it's so important to do well in this scenario, you should remove the snow probability, which will screw everything up. If you get snow on the wrong turns, then you're not going to get the prestige that you want. Okay, so that was just me kind of starting the discussion on getting as much prestige as possible. There's another area that's actually the most important part of the prestige management section. Bricata, Goose, and myself made huge mistakes on overstrength. I think other elite players have also made substantial mistakes on overstrength, but they are not playing on ultimate mode, so those mistakes get glossed over because you have a lot of leeway. If you're playing on Rommel, you're going to have plenty of prestige if you know what you're doing. If you're playing on Field Marshal or Guderian or Manstein, you're going to have plenty of prestige. So if you make these mistakes, it doesn't crop up as an issue. It's only really on ultimate mode that these mistakes might be a problem. So what mistake am I talking about? Overstrength. That is the mistake. Bricata has done some really nice in-depth statistical analysis on prestige investment in what are you getting for these overstrength investments. And I feel like it's very decisive and it feels right when I play. And I'm curious what Goose and Soren have to say about this as well. 2 points of overstrength I think is right. And it doesn't matter so much on other modes, but in ultimate mode, because of soft cap issues that are becoming a problem right around Streets of Moscow, every little bit of wiggle room that you get is a big deal. And I was playing with 3 points of overstrength on my artillery, and I don't think I was getting much return for that. I think the reason players do it is to up the kill probability. So with more overstrength, you get more kills, which accelerates your hero growth. But, if you play like the way Soren plays, you're going to get 2 heroes on your artillery. Like, easy. And probably, quite a few of your artillery units are going to get 3 by the end. And I don't think you need all of that overstrength. And I think if Soren would ever play on ultimate mode, I'd highly recommend he tone it down on that, because you don't want to lose that value. The thing I was getting annoyed about in 1942 was I had overstrength on units and I'm trying to get rid of it. And it was proving to be really difficult because I was playing so careful. And the issue was stemming from a decision I had made in Streets of Moscow, where I had overstrengthened a lot of units to the max, and I had upgraded, I think, 1 too many 17 centimeter guns, and that was causing a soft cap issue. So don't do more than 2 points of overstrength, with the exception of rocket artillery. Okay. And the reason for that is I think you are rewarded for more overstrength, and you need soft target killers, because without soft target killers, it's going to be really hard to take out 20-point conscripts. And I'd highly recommend you check out Bricada's data analysis. I'll try to post a link in the description below, and a link to this document that you can access. So, yeah, and in playing with 3 points and with 4 points of overstrength, I don't believe I'm getting significant improvements. I can't prove it, but I do think Bricada's kind of showing you are seeing like raw total improvements, but maybe it's not worth the investment. He would probably agree with that, I think. Okay, what else? Oh, buy 2 Wolframen in 41. I think Soren has conclusively shown that Wolframen are just going to rip things up very quickly. They're going to get lots of kills very quickly. You can delay purchasing them for quite a while. Yeah, so you're going to see a lower kill number on artillery if you don't go full on overstrength, but the campaign is so long, I think it doesn't matter. And the other important thing is use Soren's methods with artillery. He is so good at racking up kills in artillery because he's a machine. He's going to look for those easy opportunities to kill things. And that is why you don't have to be so concerned about don't have to be so concerned about do I need that overstrength to get the kill count up. Okay, fighters. I think another mistake being made, and it's been made by everybody, is they're putting 3 or 4 points of overstrength in fighters. I think this is a huge mistake. It's killing you on soft cap. 2 points is enough. The reality is by the time you get to 41, even in 1940, you should be using your AA to soften up fighters and then let your superior fighters finish off. And if you only put 2 points of overstrength in, it's less terrible if you take a point of damage. And I don't think I'm seeing massive improvements from 12 to 13. I haven't seen a lot of statistical analysis on this, but I have always felt very good with a 12-point fighter, and I think that they are performing extremely well. And I think it's not a big deal for the player to have them at 12 points. And then if you use Soren's method in 42, you rarely take damage from AA or other fighters. So some of the trickery Goose and I were using in 42 I don't think is necessary, where we have a lot of overstrength in fighters and then they get damaged. The problem is that's a prestige investment that I don't think that it's going to be worth it. What else? Oh, the other reason to do 2 points, I think you can get away with no overstrength, is that I do think it's important to get your kills up as early as possible. And I think there's a big difference between a 10 strength fighter and a 12 strength fighter, and not so much between a 12 strength fighter and a 13 strength fighter. And I've shown, like on my current playthrough, I mean, 3 of my fighters had 2 heroes. After, like, at some point in 42, they all had 2 heroes, and nearing 900 kills, which is good because Kittle and Novotny have to take over and rack up kills. And that's the other reason, is you need to distribute kills between your fighters. And Kittle and Novotny have a lot to catching up to do. And you're going to be using them probably all the way to the end. Rest the other older fighters. And 2 points of overstrength increases the pace of kills so you can rest them. Okay, overstrength on tanks. I think 2 points of overstrength is correct, and then that's it. And I think other people, I think Soren's doing that, and I think Goose sometimes does that, but I think he puts too much overstrength on his tanks. The reality is, in 40 and 41 especially, tanks are extremely vulnerable, and you shouldn't use them that much. If you watch my playthrough on 40 and 41, I think I have 1, 2, 3 tanks. I'm pretty sure in 40 I had 3 tanks, and then I got my 4th tank in 41. And that's it. And you can completely and totally dominate the maps with 3 or 4 tanks through 41. And then you're going to get Rondorf, and then you'll get another SE, but your Stugs are taking over in 42. If you watch how Soren is playing in 42, he is not actually using tanks that much. He is using them to guard his flanks. He's using them to clean up infantry or to clean up an armored unit. But the bulk of the killing isn't getting done by tanks. A lot of them are SE units, so you don't want them to get all these kills too early anyway. Look at how he's using Kesha. He's getting smarter and smarter about it. He's not. You don't want Kesha to get all these kills. Rondorf, you're gonna need to do that because you got Rondorf really late, so you're gonna kill a lot with Rondorf. But you're really gonna let your anti-tank and airplanes do a lot of the dirty work. But it's still pretty useful to have 2 points of overstrength. But don't do more than that. You're killing your soft cap. What else? Okay, anti-tanks. Okay. So I think that you're going to need two mobile anti-tanks. No, 3 mobile anti-tanks and then a towed anti-tank. And the smart thing to do about this is you'll level up your towed anti-tank in 39, get him to 2 stars, and then throw that unit out there on scenarios where it matters. And then you're going to level up your Panzerjägers. And I think Goose and Bricata and Soren have all shown an extremely effective way to level up your Panzerjägers very safely. I would actually argue that you probably don't need to give them overstrength. Actually, yeah. No more than 2 points of overstrength after making them stugs. This is a mistake that everyone's been making. I don't think that we are gaining much by overstrengthening the Panzerjägers, because if you use Soren's methods, they do not take much damage. So when they do take damage, save your overstrength investment on just giving them elite replacements. This does mean that they'll take fewer kills, but the reality is you're going to be using these anti-tanks all over the place. Especially since if you have the right core composition, you're going to have fewer armored units. So you have to fill in the gap with anti-tank. So anti-tanks are just going to completely dominate in 42 on. And keep in mind, like in 40 through 42, tanks are a luxury unit and they're expensive. So we really don't want them involved in too much combat. If you follow Soren's method, they're going to be very safe and secure and not taking damage. And your anti-tanks are going to be stepping up as an armored unit to fill in those voids. And you want those guys to get kills. So if they're falling behind on kills because you don't give them overstrength, it's not a big deal. And I think this will save... I saved a lot. I think I saved 3,000 or 4,000 prestige by using the Panzerjägers correct. And if I don't give them overstrength, I probably will save like 600 or 700, 800 more at least. And I don't think their efficiency, or not their efficiency will be impacted, but I don't think their efficacy will be impacted. I think they're still going to be very, very good at base 10 strength. They're not that strong of units, so you have to be very careful with them no matter what you do, so don't even bother putting overstrength on them. And then after you get stugs, 2 points is perfect. It's just perfect, and I think Soren is showing that they're extremely devastating. Okay, now I've been basically complaining about overstrength, but now let's get into why do we have to do this? Why am I so obsessed over it? It's because your tactical bombers should get overstrengthened as soon as possible. They're never going to take damage. Never let them take damage. Follow Soren's methods. They are absolutely going to clean up and just be crucial to your anti-armor component. And then also your level bombers. Level bombers are the most overpowered unit in the game. I'm just gonna flat out say it. If you watch how Soren is playing, he has gotten very sophisticated. I think if he were to look at his Rommel playthrough with how he was using level bombers, and you look at what he's doing now with level bombers, he is cleaning house with level bombers. It's an old strategy. Deductor is the first person to highlight it, as far as I'm aware. But you put them at 4 points of overstrength. You just level bomb them, and you can do tricks where they get drained of ammo, or they get pulled out on their last ammo, and they attack you in an unfavorable situation. And some of these units like SMG and guards and pioneers and stuff like that, they're very elite units, very difficult to kill. But if you drain them of ammo, you don't care about rugged defense so much. You don't really care if they fire back because they can't fire back. And if you think about 1942, the most difficult part of 1942 is not the armor, it's the endless hordes of infantry units, especially guards. Guards, every single time we see a guard, Soren's butt cheeks clench because they're so annoying. They're very strong units. He doesn't care about conscripts. I can see how he plays against conscripts, and he's just like, yeah, I'll attack these conscripts. It doesn't matter. But I noticed that with guards, there can be some scenarios where there's a lot of them, and he gets really scared to do anything with them. But if he can find ways to use level bombers to drain their ammo and then pull them out of entrenchment, suddenly guards are not scary anymore. But to not hit soft cap issues, you have to cut your investment somewhere else in your core. And so that's why. And I'm also thinking I need more space for soft cap issues because I think I have to wait for Soren to play 43, which I'm very keen on because he's going to be using level bombers a lot. I think that you can't play 43 in ultimate mode without level bombers, and a lot of them that are at max overstrength. And I'm curious to see if he thinks you can squeeze a 5th level bomber in. Because if you can squeeze a 5th level bomber in, that might set up a situation where maybe we only have 11 artillery units instead of 12. That's probably the sacrifice that will get made. Because if you watch how Soren's playing on Manseen and you watch how Goose and I are playing on 42, I am not convinced artillery is doing a great job. That's not rocket artillery. It's not that I don't want the artillery. It's great at de-entrenching units, but I'm kind of unimpressed with cleanup from the artillery. But what I'm very impressed with is the level bombers are absolutely smashing things. Goose is having issues. And part of it is he doesn't believe in the level bombers. He's doing 12 or 13 points overstrength. He doesn't have as many level bombers. He's putting a lot of emphasis on ground units, or artillery shots, but his artillery shots have been pretty disappointing. And it's not his fault or anything. It's just the nature of the combat in 42. Infantry units have more experience. They're more entrenched. Armor is stronger than ever. And your artillery, you're chugging along 10.5 centimeter guns, or the Storm Panzer, which isn't really that impressive at this point in 42. Not even the Stug is very impressive. The 17 centimeter is holding up well, but if you get too many of those, you're hitting into soft cap issues. So I think a substitution for that is to get another level bomber and cut out one of the artillery pieces. It's really interesting. It seems like a lot of players think 12 artillery pieces is like the ideal amount, but on ultimate mode, I'm not sold. I think it might be 11, and then we just get one more level bomber. In fact, you could even make an argument that other level bomber should be younger, because typically on scenarios where I think 5 level bombers would be amazing are ones with ships. And also just having a Junker is really useful before 42 because, you have Narvik and you have some other scenarios where a Junker can do a lot of damage, has that really high naval attack. The only reason people don't like them is that there's that 43 version that's kind of disappointing. But if I have 5 level bombers, maybe that would be okay. And then what? Oh, never overstrength the scout. Soren is doing this. I'm very happy. It's a major improvement. Every now and then he does overstrength, but I think it's completely unnecessary. With the exception of Sevastopol Assault. He has some really crazy tricks on Sevastopol Assault where it's the one time I actually think overstrength on the scout's a good thing. However, I have a hunch, if you get something like a defense +3 hero, maybe you don't have to overstrength. But I think a movement +1 is the most valuable thing you can get on a scout. Okay, now I haven't talked about infantry. Now I'm going to do it. So I'm going to take a very controversial position. I think the only units that get max overstrength is Oladir and SE units. And the reason is they rarely get used. This is something Soren's getting better about, but he still has a lot of work to do, is I have shown decisively all the way through Sevastopol Assault that you do not even have to deploy Oladir. If you look at how Soren and Goose play, they're always deploying Oladir. He's a super powerful unit. I understand why, but you only need Oladir. Let's be honest. If I go through my head, when do I absolutely have to play Oladir? I would say Lods, Piatic, mostly because I want him to get a star. I would deploy him at Wizgarod because I need him to get experience quickly. And then Modlin, it would be the same thing. Warsaw, Spoils of War. And then after that, I'm not convinced that you need to deploy Oladir ever in Norway. You know, if you're trying to map wipe at Lillehammer, that would be the one time that you would need them. But you do not need Oladir for Narvik, and you don't need Oladir for Oslo. And the reason for that is you're just taking kills from other units. Oladir is going to be comfortably sitting at 275 in kills after Spoils of War. He's going to be at max experience. He's going to have, he's going to be on his way to 300 plus kills. And Oladir is extremely important in 42 for some scenarios, and even more important in 43. So don't use him. Don't take kills away from other units. And then if I go to 1940, you do not need Oladir for Abonemel. You do need Oladir for Albert Canal, but he's not necessarily killing. Well, actually, he's killing a lot. You're going to use him at Albert Canal. I think you need Oladir for The Hague if you're going for a decisive. If you're going for a marginal, you don't need him. And then what? Sedan, you don't need Oladir. Mabuage, you need Oladir. Arras, you need Oladir. But you notice how I use him in that map. He just sits there. He kills a few things and he sits there. And he's going to hold back an entire division. Calais, I don't believe you need Oladir. Or no, you do need Oladir because he's going to sit by himself in that major hex. So you need him for Calais, Arras, Mabuage. And then what's after that? Dunkirk, you don't need Oladir. Ream, you don't need Oladir. I also believe I have played Dijon without Oladir. You can get a decisive victory at Dijon without Oladir. At marginal line, you don't need Oladir. So that's like 4, 5, 6 of the 11 scenarios, I think, in 1940. You don't need Oladir. And you don't need him in like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to play with him in 7 scenarios in 39 and 4 in 1940, and he's probably going to be sitting on close to 400 kills. That's a really good number. If you can get it, like, I think I got really lucky. I think he was at 325 kills after 1940. That's a really good number. You want it to be as low as possible. And I think he even hit 3 stars. And I was literally barely using Oladir, and he hit 3 stars. That's how overpowered he is. And then in 1941, I didn't use him for Belgrade, or Metaxas Line, or Crete, or Minsk. I don't think I used him for Smolensk. I don't think I used him for Leningrad, or not for Leningrad, for Kyiv. I used him for Vyazma. I used him for Streets of Moscow. That's it. So I only used him twice in, I think, 1941, and I think he was, like 360 experience, and I think he had, I think he was at close to 400 kills, or a little over 400 kills going into 1942. That's extremely good. And then in 1942, you need Oladir for... Actually, I don't even think you need him for Vitebsk, Kharkov, or Simferopol. But you definitely need him for Sevastopol, because you need every infantry unit. And then you need him for Vrozna, Novosibirsk, Alavnia, Buzanivko Depot, and Stalingrad. So my point is, you can go for a long period of time without even needing Oladir. And so you're actually getting a nice return on the overstrength investment because you're not running the risk of him losing it. The other units that can get overstrength are SE units. Use them the way Soren uses them. I've been doing that. They don't take damage, and you're using them for like key hotspot kills, and then don't get over ambitious with them. They're too expensive to give overstrength to. And as I mentioned, I use them sparingly because you're going to be playing with these units a lot more later. Paratroopers are an exception. I think 2 points of overstrength on paratroopers is really good. It's also not expensive, and paratroopers you get them later, so you need to catch up on kills, and you want these paratroopers to accumulate a lot of kills. And they won't affect your soft cap much. Don't use transports. So prestige management, Soren is using very expensive transports. A lot of people like them. I think it's killing you on soft cap. But SE units should probably have transports, and we have a starting infantry with a transport. Probably make him a grenadier. If you get something like an attack hero, you would use him very carefully with his transport. So you're going to have 3 infantry units with transports, and then Oladir and Pine, who are very fast. That's all you need, especially if you have 3 paratroopers, which I think is the ideal core, is you need 3 paratroopers, and they're just going to fly to wherever you need them to go. And because they can conveniently drop wherever you need them to drop, it means you're going to end up having, 8 infantry units that can travel fast. That's really good. That's enough. This will help on soft cap. So this is something, if Soren was to play ultimate mode, he has to fix this because he's got these really expensive transports, and I don't think he's benefiting much from them. Now, he'll probably disagree, but what else? Yeah, I think I have convincingly shown I don't need transports with infantry. This is something Bricata would agree with me. If you look at Soren's soft cap issues, I think they primarily go away if he doesn't have expensive transports. He even has some expensive transports on artillery, which doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, AA guns should definitely get overstrength as soon as possible. And I even put in here, don't even argue with me. AA guns are the next most overpowered unit in the game. So it goes level bombers and then AA guns. Their ability to just soften up planes and then let your fighters clean up, it is so powerful. I have no idea why people crap all over AA guns, because I can't even imagine playing without them. Imagine dealing with these 15 strength fighters and not having AA guns. And I have 4 of them, and I absolutely believe that you have to have 4 AA guns, 2 88s and 2 mobile. And part of the reason we have to cut our overstrength investment on everything else is because your AA guns and all of your bombers are going to get the bulk of that overstrength. Those are extremely expensive units, and you got to find room to fit under the soft cap. And the reason you want to fit under the soft cap is because there's so much prestige to be had in 1942. Thousands of prestige can be lost if you're careless with soft cap management. And look at what I did at Sevastopol Assault, and I didn't break soft cap. And I think I could do even better with better prestige management. Yeah, so the review. You're going to put max overstrength on anti-aircraft, bombers, Oladir, SE infantry, Nebelwaffers, and Wolframen. No overstrength on scouts, and 2 overstrength points on infantry, fighters, tanks, and anti-tanks. Honestly, you could even make an argument that 1 point might be better. I haven't seen anyone possibly only 1 point of overstrength on tanks. I honestly am wondering if we could get away with it. But the thing is, because of the upgrades with tanks, you want to, when they're Panzer 4D, that's when you want them to get to 2 stars, and then you give them the overstrength points. Actually, let me change this. Not here. Under tanks. Oh, wait. Wait to give overstrength on tanks until they are 2 stars, which is relatively easy to achieve. Then upgrade tanks. This is something no one has talked about, but I have mentioned briefly in my videos. If you watch them carefully, I have delayed upgrades on my units until they hit a certain star, and then I give them the overstrength, and then I upgrade. The idea is tanks will never take damage. Will never take damage. This is something that I think is essential. Soren is so close to being able to show this in a live play. How many scenarios has his tanks escaped unscathed? Sometimes he had some bad luck, but ideally, you're going to give them those overstrength points when they're cheap units, and then you upgrade them to the fancy armor, saving, that actually adds up to a lot of prestige. And then, because we're following Soren's method, we're being extremely careful. Tanks are porcelain, very fragile porcelain. We really don't want them in combat unless we know it's safe. And this is going to save thousands of prestige. If you look at the way Soren and Bricata play, they take risks with their heavy weapons, and I think it's a bad idea. I am sold that Soren has shown you can play on Manstein very safely with tanks. And so because of that, this strategy will work. You're going to wait till they're 2 stars, then give them overstrength. And the idea is they're just never going to take damage. And you're going to save so much prestige. It's gross. And then I need to mention about level bombers. Where is that? Here. Do not upgrade level bombers until they are 4 stars. In 1942, then give them overstrength, then upgrade them. So these are units that are not likely to take damage, and you're going to play in such a way that they don't take damage, and you don't need the 5th overstrength point. That's the good news. The 5th overstrength point is completely irrelevant. So you're going to have 2 Doniers and 2 Heinkels, and you're going to play with those versions until Semiferopol. Ideally, these units will be at 4 stars after Semiferopol. So you can go caveman on Sevastopol Assault. So one thing I did talk about extensively in my playthroughs that's very different from everyone else's, I micromanaged the level bombers to perfection. I got all of my level bombers to 4 stars after Semiferopol. Then I gave them a point of overstrength, or I overstrengthened them by 4, and then I upgraded them. I mean, I'm going to guess on 4 level bombers, that's easily 500 to 600 prestige. It might even be more than that I saved. Maybe we're talking 700 prestige. That's not trivial. The consequence of this is less kills. The consequence is less kills for level bombers, but they will be used so much you can still hope for 2 heroes. So I think you're gonna find. I think Soren's gonna show this. He's gonna go ape on tanks in 43 with the level bombers, and I don't see a scenario. I think every single level bomber in 43 all the way up through Kursk should be deployed. I am actually serious. So Soren, if you're listening, I think starting at Kharkov, all 4 level bombers should be deployed. Even though I think that's the one scenario, maybe it's not critical, but I would deploy all 4 because there's a lot of heavy armor and they're going to drain them of ammo. It's going to be great, and you're going to get good kills. The upgraded level bombers have excellent attack stats. You're going to get some really good kills, not to mention you're going to get to Stalingrad docks, and you're going to be bombing the hell out of ships. Because I think we should follow Goose's plan more than Soren's, because of ultimate mode is really tight. So what was I saying? Yeah. So this is going to save you an insane amount of prestige. I'm sure someone could calculate out just how much prestige that this saves. Hundreds of prestige. It's got to be. Especially if you've got 4 level bombers or 5. So that will save prestige, and then the Wolfram and Enable Warfers, you're gonna want at least 2 movement plus 1s, and you'll upgrade them to Enable Warfers. You're gonna lose some prestige there. However, I don't think that's such a big deal, because if you only did 2 points of overstrength, it's not that much. Wolframen, you won't lose anything, because they're gonna stay Wolframen the whole time, I think. Maybe Soren will correct me on that. And Oladir and SE infantry shouldn't take damage. So, and your bombers shouldn't take damage. So you're giving max overstrength to units that are not going to take damage. Your scout will take damage all the time. You don't give it any overstrength. And on these guys, these are the units that will likely take damage, except for tanks. We don't really want damage on them. Or fighters. Well, actually, the reality is, if you're playing really well, the damage should be on anti-tanks and infantry, and it should rarely ever be anything else. And by doing this, you're going to save thousands of prestige. Okay. So I'm going to go to my other point on prestige management. Not enough prestige has been grabbed. I'm coming back to this. You need to do every cheap trick. I know Bricata doesn't like doing it. Goose doesn't like doing it. Soren doesn't like doing it. But on ultimate mode, the AI plays dirty. You have to play dirty too. Here is a list of some tricky things that you can do. If you follow my plan on Ibanimel, did I misspell that? I think so. You can grab every single hex, and it's actually not even challenging. So think about all the prestige you get, think about all the kills you get, and you can do it without taking any damage. Who in their right mind wouldn't do that on ultimate mode? At Albert Canal, you can follow Soren's setup. You're going to have to make adjustments based on hero distribution. But thanks to the trickery I discovered on that map, you should go for a decisive victory and scoop up as many hexes as you possibly can. And I believe Soren can improve upon my method. That is mind-boggling to me. What's next? The Hague. Okay, this has never been shown as decisive as possible. I almost accidentally did it one time. But I think if Soren chatted with me a bit about the strategy, about kind of sneaking in seaside, I think you can get a decisive victory, because you can use my paratrooper trick, which I have shown before, to seize the Northern Victory objective. The reason why this might be another prestige jackpot is not only are you going to gain a lot of prestige from surrenders, but you're going to get more prestige from just grabbing these objectives, and then from getting the decisive victory, you get more prestige. And this stuff starts to add up. I mean, this is an extra 150 prestige, at least. Every tiny little bit of prestige actually matters. And I think that Goose, Bricata, and I didn't try very hard on this one because we thought it wasn't possible. But I actually think it is possible. We just need someone like Soren to do it, who has perfect tactics a lot of the time. Sedan. So Sedan is a map I think there's only minor improvements. I do think Bricata had a good plan, but Soren could make it better. My only issue with Sedan is I think that there should be some way to get some extra hexes without compromising on the overall integrity of Bricata's battle plan. And Soren is probably the person who might be able to figure that out. And I'm just making the argument, every last hex you can get on this map, you should do it. The next big thing is take the British path. I think there's more prestige on it. It's easier to control. I honestly don't like the French path as much these days. It's a little gimmicky, let's put it that way. A couple of things. I have broken Marbouage, so watch my playthrough of that map. I mean, I have absolutely broken it using trickery. So there's a lot of prestige. I mean, there is a lot of prestige on this map if you follow my plan. All that could be made better is tactics, so Soren would easily go to town. Arras, you follow Soren's plan, but I think there's some improvements that could be made. I think there should be a way to sneak in the back and grab some hexes. Every hex you can grab, you should do it on this map. Calais, Soren broke this map really easily. As I say, I don't know if there's many room for improvements, so you're not really so caught up on seizing hexes on this map because you're going to get most of them anyway. But you should be caught up on damaging, limit damage to your units and racking up kills. And I think his approach is really, really good. You're going to have to make an update because on ultimate mode, you have to be faster. But I think me and Goose have shown a pretty clear cut path on how to do that. Yeah, where was I? Dunkirk. Just follow Soren's plan, but be more aggressive. My only criticism on Soren's play right now is he's not as aggressive as he could be. Either is he's trying to take into account weather, or he has so much prestige he doesn't need to be aggressive. Is another way to put it. But if you're playing on ultimate mode, follow his plan, but be more aggressive. Don't necessarily sit there just holding flanks. And Dunkirk is another map, tremendous amount of prestige you can get if you know what you're doing, and I think he lays it out perfectly. Reims, just follow my plan. It's the cheap way out, but it's so good. Why wouldn't you do it? Not only are you going to seize almost every hex, you're just going to get tons of kills for cheap. You can level up your 7-1 guns on this map and get a lot of experience and kills. Who in the hell wouldn't want to do that? The goal here is to be ready for 43. Honor has nothing to do with it. Marginal line, follow Soren's plan, but be more aggressive. I think you can get up to like 16 or 17 hexes or fortifications. You can't really do more than that. But his plan is so good that I'm curious if Soren, if he played an ultimate, if he could get maybe 18 or 19 hexes. A little risky, but he's going to be a much better player by the time he would try something like that, so he might be able to do it. You should be able to seize everything at Belgrade, follow Goose and Soren's approach for the sweet spot. Yeah, I think that they have shown how to completely crush that map. Metaxas line, this one, there's only minor improvements. Grab every easy hex, get the capturable unit. I don't see any way to improve. Yeah, I am recording. I was like, did I actually hit the record button? Okay. So Crete, basically follow anyone's plan. You can map wipe it. You should definitely be able to map wipe it with very precise play. Grab every hex. Minsk, follow my plan or Soren's. Easy. Just, it's not a hard map. Smolensk, follow Bracato's plan, but with Soren's improved tactics. Or maybe it was Goose's improved tactics. I can't remember, but there's this bridge crossing thing. That might be Bracata. But Soren has some tactics in other parts of the map you should use, and just follow it. Get a decisive victory. Get the capturable unit. Grab every hex you can. You know, you're getting to the point where this map, almost every single hex can be taken, which is crazy. Follow Soren's approach with the Kiev path. So do the Kiev path, not the Leningrad. Kiev is going to ultimately be more prestige. You can achieve great things as long as you follow his plan and you perfectly nail the tactics. Follow my third approach at Vyazma. This is the one where I park pioneers in the major hexes, and I let them entrench in the enemy. Oh, no. That was my second plan, or my fourth plan. The last plan was I didn't seize the northern objective because that triggers the counterattack. And then I seize the southern objective as fast as possible to pull the final counterattack forward, so then I can sneak a paratrooper in the back to go get the capturable unit. And if you do that, and then how did I do Vyazma? And then I just kind of sneak into the south and in the north on Vyazma. And that whole counterattack group in the north never activates. Yeah, so follow my last plan. I should say my last attempt. Yeah, because I think that broke the map. Because if the northern attack group doesn't activate, it's really safe for you to advance into Vyazma from the north. And you're going to crush the south really, really quickly. And then deal with the counterattack, and then you hit Vyazma from the south, and you're fine. And exploiting entrenched infantry, yeah, I definitely do that. My Streets of Moscow is definitely the best approach shown so far. I'm not even convinced you can do better. I think I basically cracked the map. Goose cracked the map, but I improved significantly on that approach. You just fly a paratrooper up north, you kill the fighter, you kill the spotting up north, you pull out the anti-aircraft gun, you bomb it with Rudel, you hit it with the paratrooper, and all the vision disappears. It's actually super cheap, but it solves the map. And I think I was the one that highlighted that the other capturable unit you bomb with a fighter, I think it's Kittle and Lent, they don't really have a lot to do, so you just bomb that cavalry unit until it dies because it doesn't get replacements, and then your scout, who has nothing to do at this point, just sneaks up there and grabs it. So you get the capturable unit, and I think you have to grab it on a snow day, so that you wait for a snow day, and you grab it with your scout, and what ends up happening is they can't see that it's empty, so then you get the capturable unit. I think that's the final trick on that one. And then you can just follow Soren and my tactics at Streets of Moscow, and it's solved. Who would have thought that, like, Streets of Moscow was trivialized? Or almost trivialized. Soren's approach at Demyansk is possible. Why did I misspell that? I think that there's some minor improvements you could do, but very minor. There might be, like, one more hex you can get. But I'm not... This is definitely not a map where I feel the player is rewarded by being extremely aggressive. The fact is, this is a farming map. You're going to kill as many units as possible. You're going to get as much prestige from surrenders as possible, which is quite a bit if you do it right. And you're going for XP on units that are lagging behind. Vitebsk has been solved. Yeah, just follow Soren's approach for optimal tactics and my trickery for safe prestige accumulation. Yeah, I mean, it's solved. Kharkov. I ultimately think Soren's approach, yeah, I think you have to do Soren's approach with some trickery. And if you do this, you're going to get insane amounts of prestige, and it's going to be really safe as well. If you get the tactics perfect and the weather is perfect, you will be able to farm KV-1Cs safely. And I highly recommend you do it. You should just do it, not just recommend. You should just do it. And I think if you do it, you're going to get a lot of prestige from surrenders. And I highly recommend you do it. Simferopol, I think my approach is best. It's super safe, exploiting trigger mechanics, and you have a lot of control over combat. And it avoids the need for insane levels of precision on turn 1. So you're going to avoid a lot of frustration if you use my approach. You're going to get less prestige, but are you really? Because with my approach, you don't take damage, or very little. Sevastopol Assault, you should follow my model, but use Soren's improved tactics, which there are many. And I actually have improved tactics as well. I have tactics I didn't show because I was experimenting with it, that I think Soren, it would get Soren's nod of approval, like, okay, this is insane. This is like, this is next level god tier type tactics. But he had some excellent tactics that I was like, wow. And then, of course, the trick of dropping the paratrooper in the back should be done. Oh, and then Goose. You can follow Goose's methods basically after Sevastopol Assault. Use his methods, but with Soren's tactics. And it's crazy how much prestige you can get. And then follow my model on Lavnia. It's still the most dominant model. You're going to control the map safely. Mostly safely. And you're getting a lot of utility. One of the things every other player has had a problem with on this map is they're not getting as much utility from their units, which includes Soren. So I just think that I had a really good strategic plan, and you need to squeeze as much value from your units as possible on that map. And go the stay in Stalingrad path, because you're going to get more prestige that way. Because we know Tatsenkaya is impossible. And I think if you do this, you're going to get 45 to 50,000 in prestige. I think I was on pace for like 41 to 43. But I wasted a lot of prestige. I think if Soren does it, I should update. I think if Soren does it and he follows like my plan religiously, I think this is possible. especially if he avoids damage. Like if he avoids all damage and he's like the one player that might be able to do that, look at how much more prestige you can get ending 42. Um, what I don't know is if that's enough prestige. So yeah, I'm waiting for Soren to tackle 43. We'll find out. Also, I think because of how tricky things are in Guderian setting, there are some scenarios where changing the weather settings is a must. If you're going for the maximum amount of prestige, change Warsaw to no rain. Oslo, no rain. I think there should be no rain in 1940 except for Dunkirk. And Sevastopol Assault, I changed the weather to be always clear. And there has to be no rain for Vyazna, Novininsky, Alavnia, Buzunivko, Dupont, and storming Stalingrad. I think Goose is using tricks to make sure there's no rain, but it would just be easier to just change it so there's no rain. Having any rain at all in those scenarios is just terrible. You're going to take a lot of unnecessary damage. The other thing is, if I share this document, you guys can copy and paste this and add details. Like Soren and Prakata in particular could edit this or something. If they give me their email, I can share this document so they can edit. It would be cool to have like every single scenario mapped out. Like I have tactical ideas, strategic ideas, positional ideas, units to focus on, units to buy, overall goals, that kind of stuff. I think it'd be very useful for new players to the game. So this is what I have to say. I think I'm going to do another video later today on what has been accomplished with all of this newfound knowledge. But I am tired, and I will let you guys digest what I've had to say. Until next time.